Hi guys, so another little video that I wanted to film for you was a smoky eye. This will be kind of my go-to look that I kind of do every time I go out, and I just wanted to record it for you because it's kind of like a classic, it's a staple, it's really easy to do, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do like it, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll link it all down below, and enjoy. Okay, so first things first, I have moisturised my face with the Kiehl's Ultra Moisturiser. That's kind of like my go-to moisturiser that I use when I'm applying makeup. It just gives like a really good barrier and it does moisturise whilst it's on as well, which is always a benefit. Especially for a smoky eye, I am going to go in with my tape trick that I've filmed before. So if you want to know what I mean when I say tape trick, go back through my IGTV and you'll see a video. So it's just a clear tape that I pop on the corners of my eyes so that it gives me a straight kind of winged look. You can keep this off if you don't want it quite as straight, quite as chiseled, etc. But I kind of like that because I don't like to smoke out my lower lash line too much. So I'm just going to go and pop that on. And there you go. So the next thing that I'm going to go in with is the eyelid primer. Sorry about this mirror, by the way. I'm very aware that I haven't got a handheld mirror that doesn't reflect back to you what I'm recording, so I always use this because then you can't see it. It just so happens that it is one of my favourite palettes as well. So eye primer, I'm going in with the MUA Pro Base Eye Primer. And it's just like a really liquidy product and I really find it easy to blend. You don't need a lot at all. Okay, so the palette that I'm going to be focused on using today, you can see the state of it. I've had it such a long time. It's the Morphe 35W palette. I just love all the shades in this. It's such a versatile palette. You've got some colour if you want to try with colour. And you can see, as soon as I hold this up, you can see that I've used it so much. Like, look at those dents compared to the new one that I've got. So I am going to go in with this palette here. And I'm using a kind of packing brush today because I'm going to do all the blending at the end because it is a full smoky, so I'm going to be using about 3 or 4 different browns. So it's just an e.l.f. Professional Blending Eye Brush, so it looks like this. It's quite sturdy, so it's really good for packing on the shadow. So the first shade that I'm going to use is just this colour here. It's the third one in from the top row on the left. That's just kind of going to be used as my transition shade. It's just going to give me kind of a colour all over the lid. So I'm just going to sweep that. Rather than pack it, I'm just sweeping that in. Particularly paying attention to the top of the crease / brow bone. Just make sure you do take it out to that tape here as well, because you do want some sort of definition if you are using the tape. Obviously, if you're not, you don't need to make sure you go onto that. Just make sure you buff it out as much as you like. Okay, so you can see that I've been really rough with that, just particularly because it's just a base shade. It's nothing that's going to add too much definition or anything like that. It just gives it quite a nice blend when you blend it through. So the next shade that I'm going to go in with is going to be the one right underneath it here. So it's just a little bit darker. Again, just pay a little bit more attention with this one just because it is darker, but again, it's going to be a blending shade. So again, I'm just putting it through the crease and just sweeping that through. Okay, so now that that's on, I'm going to go in with my Morphe M200 brush and just kind of blend that through because that is going to be the base. You want that nice and smooth. You don't want any harsh lines in that. So just blend it all the way through. Okay, so that's blended quite nice. You can't see any harsh lines or anything like that. So the next shade that I'm going to go in with, it's going to be this shade over this side of the palette. So it's like a dark brown. It's not a deep dark brown, so this is what I would call a deep dark brown, but it's going to be this shade here. This one, again, make sure, because it is a darker shade, that you do pay a little bit more attention with it. Make sure you tap off your brush because you don't want it smudged everywhere. And I'm going to pay attention particularly to the outer corner, so I'm not going to bring this one through the crease. I'm just paying particular attention to the corner here. Okay, so that's that on. Just make sure you match it up because the last thing you want is it to look uneven. So you can see that this one's coming slightly further in. So I'm just going to take that in a little bit more on this side. Okay, and going back in with the blending brush, just make sure it's all clean. And just blending that through. Okay, so that's quite evenly blended. Okay, so the next shade that I'm going to go in with, I'm actually going to go in with a single shadow shade from Sephora, but I'll show you the colour. It's called Matte, it's the matte colour and it's Sand Dunes, and it's just kind of like a burgundy colour. I really, really like this. This is one of my favourite shades to use. So again, with the same brush, just picking up a little bit of that product, and I'm going to be working this right through the crease. It's a little bit darker, but focusing it on the crease and just pressing it through the crease. Okay, you can see that I'm bringing that quite far into the corner of the eye. It's kind of like one of those shades, it's not too dark, so it won't make your eyes look too small. And just repeat that on the other eye. Okay, back in with the M200 brush to blend. And again, make sure it's clean and just blend that through. I just really like this colour. It just sits so nicely on the eye. And the Sephora shadows are really, really easy to blend as well. And back in with the same shade, I'm just going to pack a little bit more on the outer corner. Same Sephora shade. Okay, so now the shade that I'm going to use, I just want to put a base shade on the inside of the eye, or the inner corner of the eye. Still using the same Morphe palette. I'm going to use a flat brush. So it's just a crown flat brush just to pack on the shade. And I don't want it too dark because I'm going to define it with a really deep dark shade in a minute. So I'm just going to go back in with the same shade that I used under the third here. So this was the second shade that I used. I'm just going to pack that on the inside. Okay, so that's sat quite nicely. So now with this palette, so the Morphe 35W palette, I'm going to go in the same e.l.f. brush that I've been using, but I'm going to go in with this really deep dark brown here. And this is where it's going to really, really darken this up. Just make sure you don't have lots and lots of product on the brush, otherwise it does start to flake, it does start to drop, etc. So I'm really taking this quite far into the centre of the eye and just packing it along that line. Okay, so whenever I do a smoky eye, I do like to leave a little bit lighter just on the inside of the eye, otherwise I feel that my eyes look tiny. So I am going to leave this kind of, not flesh colour because we put that base shade on it, but I'm just going to leave it as it is, but I'm going to still continue to deepen up the corner. This time I'm going in with this deep black shade here, but I'm going to go in with a completely different brush. It's it's a Morphe brush, it's M156, so it's a dual-ended brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray some setting spray on it. I'm just going to use the Glam Glow Glowsetter spray. And then I'm going to pick up some of that black. And you can see how much it's picked up on the edge. And I'm just going to trace it along the tape line so that it gives me a really nice smoke. Okay, so that you can kind of see that it's laid down. I'm just going to use a blending brush. It's a angled blender from Crème. It's really, really soft, but it's sturdy enough that it will help move a little bit of colour but not move it completely. So I'm just going to use that to blend that black into the outer corner. Just so it doesn't look as harsh. Okay, so there you go. So that's the base of the eye down. So you can go in and intensify that black shadow with a liner, etc. But I'm just going to keep it as it is. And if you want, you can pop a lighter shade on the inner corner of the eye. That just gives it kind of like a little shimmer. But again, I'm just going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to smoke the lower lash line slightly, not so intensely, so not with a black, but one of the lighter browns. So I'm going to peel this off, and you'll see that smoke there. You can always go and blend that if you don't like it, it's fine. If you change your mind, which I tend to do sometimes, but you can see how much shadow has kind of stuck onto the tape, and you'll see it in a previous video. So I'm just going to check that. So I'm just going to go and deepen up this side. I'm just going to use a tiny chisel brush just because this side is a bit more intense on the black. That'll be because it was the first kind of input with the spray that I used. So I'm just going to go and intensify that just slightly. Okay, so that's pretty much the eyeshadow done for now. I'm going to go in and now do my base and brows, etc. So the products that I'm using for my face base today, it's the nip+fab foundation. This is in shade 15, and then the W7 Genius Featherlight foundation. This is in True Beige. So I mix these together to get my perfect shade, and they work really, really well together. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my classic that I use all the time now, the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base to pop on the face. Okay, and I'm just going to go in with a Kiko brush. Again, I've spoke about this brush before. It was part of a set, so I don't actually know what it's called. It was one of their summer sets. It's just a really nice brush to pop on foundation. So I'm just going to go in. Okay, so now that's laid down with the brush, I go back in with my Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. I love this sponge. It just really packs the foundation into the face. It leaves your face looking really dewy. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is my eyebrows. I'm kind of one of those people that literally uses the same thing for eyebrows all the time. I'm going in with the Maybelline Brow Drama now. I really, really like this product. I tried this purely because of the brush look. I always used to use brushes that were straight for my eyebrows, and it's not until I tried something like this that I was like, boy, was I going wrong. It's just a really nice brush, and it just sets every tiny, tiny hair. Okay, so under eye today, I am going in with a different product. Normally I always rave about my Lasting Perfection, again, still the same one, I haven't used my new one yet, concealer, but I'm going in with the MAC Prep and Prime today. It's the Highlight Light Boost. I really like this product. It sits really well for me. It's just one of those things where it's just a lot, I find, to spend on a concealer, and especially when there's so many high street brands and products that do just as good a job. So this is, if I was to go out, I would use something like this just because it's a little bit more expensive, but it does such a good job as well. So I'm just going to pop that through the bag area. And I love that this comes with a brush ready to disperse onto the eye. And that is that. And I'm going in with the wet sponge first, and then I'll go in with the Miracle Razor Sponge. That base concealer down. So to set the eye today, again, I'm going with a different product. It's not one that I go to all the time. It's just a combination that I found really, really good for brightening the under eye. So it's the Revolution Lace mixed with the Bourjois rice powder. So rice powder was a big, big thing back in, way back. It's just got these little pigments. I will try to show it to you if I do a little swatch on my hand. It's got like light reflecting pigments in it. Don't know if you can see that. So what I do is I mix them both together, because this is kind of like the baking powder, this is setting, that's the illuminating. And I actually use an old MAC pot that I've got, and I've just mixed them in there, because you can pull the top of the MAC pots out, and I just mix a little bit up into there. And as you can see, I don't use it very, very often, just because I found some really, really good, just basic ones when I don't want to be any extra, but it's a really, really nice product. So I'm going in with the Real Technique setting brush. I've just picked some up and I've just popped some on my brush and I'm just banging it out. You can see how much falls out. I'm just going to make sure I haven't got any creases under my eye before I set it. I'm just going to pat that down the nose and literally just pat it through. And you could use that all over your face, especially with the light reflecting illuminating pigments in the Bourjois rice powder. It would be really nice, just to give you kind of a little bit of, not a shimmer, but a dewy look, because it's not a bright, blinding, illuminating pigment. It's just really, really nice. It's really subtle. So blush today, again, I'm going something completely different. I fell in love with this a while back. And I completely forgot that I had it in my kit. It's the Rimmel Wake Me Up blusher in 02 Radiant Rose. So you can see it there. It's a cream blush. So I'm going to apply it with my fingers. And it's like, I'm just going to show you. It's like a jelly type texture. So I put some on my finger and then I literally pat it onto the back of my hand to get the excess off. And then I'm just going to go and pop it on to the apples of my cheeks. And I just love that you can build this up as well. And it just gives like a really nice pink glow. And repeat on the other side. And you can go in with a brush and kind of buff it through after if you like. Again, one brush that I love is the contour brush from Real Techniques. I generally use this as my blusher brush, and it just blends it really well. I forgot how much I love this product. Okay, so contour today. I'm not going to do heavy, heavy, heavy contour. I'm just going to do a little tiny bit. So I'm going in with the W7 Ebony Catwalk Concealer. This is really, really nice for contour. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm just going to do 1, 2 here, 1, 2 here, and a little bit underneath there. I always contour under my lip. The reason I do that is that it gives an illusion of a bigger bottom lip, and I always then highlight the top of my lip, so it kind of, if you look at it now and look at it when it's finished, it just kind of gives an illusion of like this has come up and then this just looks a bit fuller. I'll do like a before and after so that you can see, obviously you can see there's a bit of brown contour under there anyway.